Today's conversation comes in with that kind of weight the faithful can feel before training camp even gets rolling. One deal is done, the defense is being challenged, a superstar on offense is suddenly being debated, and the wide receiver room might be changing its entire energy. The 49ers are not just stacking names on a roster, they are trying to protect a championship window that needs answers right now. There is a rookie with his path cleared, a serious rumor sitting right in the middle of the defensive line, Christian McCaffrey becoming a national talking point, and Mike Evans possibly representing something Santa Clara really needs. Hit that like, subscribe, and feel this one with me. And the first story may look simple from the outside, but it brings a good feeling of order. Romello Height is officially signed with the 49ers on a 4-year deal. No drama, no warning sign, no delay making fans stare at the calendar and wonder what is going on. The rookie was already taking part in OTAs even before the contract was signed, and that said a lot about his mindset and how the team viewed the process. Now it is official. A 4-year deal worth $7.29 million under the rookie wage scale. And this is what I really like about this story. Height is not coming in as some manufactured combine hype name or a player built off one flashy headline week. He is coming in as someone who had to take the long road to earn attention. He started at Auburn, went to USC in 2023, had 4 sacks in 12 games, then transferred to Georgia Tech, started 12 games again, but saw the production fall to 2.5 sacks. Some people look at that path and see instability. I look at it and see a player who never got handed the easy route. He had to keep fighting. The breakout finally came in 2025 at Texas Tech. 14 starts, 9.5 sacks, 11 tackles for loss, and one of the best pressure rates in the class. That changes the whole conversation. Because for the 49ers, Height does not need to enter the building as some instant savior. He needs to come in with a defined role. Go after the quarterback on obvious passing downs, put his hand in the dirt, fire off the ball, and play with hunger. That is the kind of detail that feels small in July and becomes huge in November. San Francisco knows better than anybody that Nick Bosa cannot be asked to carry the entire fear factor by himself. This defense needs waves. It needs fresh legs. It needs a young rusher who can play 20 snaps and make the offensive tackle feel like the drive just got longer. Height, at 25 years old, is not some raw 19-year-old still growing into his frame. He has already been through transfers, a production dip, a rebound, and the pressure of one final shot. Now comes the part that determines everything, turning college production into real NFL pressure. The deal is done, the path to camp is open, and for a franchise trying to make its defensive front scary again, this kind of piece is not just roster decoration, it is ammunition. And now the temperature rises, because after talking about a rookie bringing energy off the edge, the next conversation goes directly to the heart of the defense. The name is Daron Payne. And when a defender with that size and physical style gets connected to the exact need the 49ers have, you do not just scroll past it. You stop, you look again, and you ask the real question. Would this make sense for a franchise trying to put fear back in the trenches? Payne still belongs to the Commanders. That is where this starts. But he is entering the final year of his contract. He carries a heavy cap number, and from what is floating around Washington, an extension does not appear to be clearly moving forward. That kind of situation can create an opening, and when there is even a small opening involving a physical defensive tackle, an experienced body, a strong run defender, and a player who can push the pocket from the middle, John Lynch has to at least be paying attention, because the uncomfortable truth is this: the 49ers defense needs that weight back. That pressure that made opposing offenses feel trapped before the snap. It is not enough to have Nick Bosa terrifying teams off the edge if the quarterback can step up in the pocket like he is walking through his own backyard. Interior pressure changes the whole shape of a play. It removes that first comfortable step. It forces the guard to lose leverage. It locks the center in place. It turns third down into survival mode. Daron Payne would be that kind of heavy presence in the middle. Not just a rotation piece, a real impact body. A player used to important snaps, short area power, double teams, run fits, and the kind of pressure that might not always become a sack, but still destroys the timing of the play. And for the 49ers, that is massive, because this defense is at its best when the whole front is connected. Bosa wins when the middle moves. The linebackers win when the running back has no clean lane. The secondary wins when the quarterback has to throw half a second earlier than he wanted. Of course, a move like this would take creativity. The contract is heavy. Washington would have no reason to just hand away a player of that caliber without getting real value back. And San Francisco would have to run the numbers, create space, measure the draft cost, and maybe accept some future pain to buy present impact. But that is where contender pressure enters the picture. The 49ers cannot build this roster like they are waiting around for 2029. This window needs decisions with a pulse. The most interesting part is that Payne does not even have to be officially pushed out for this to become a name worth monitoring. Washington only has to hesitate. The extension only has to stay stuck. The 49ers only have to look at their own defensive line and feel like one more piece could completely change the mood of the game. And if that possibility ever starts gaining real steam, the message would be brutal. San Francisco is not just trying to improve the defense, it is trying to bring fear back. Now, when the conversation shifts to Christian McCaffrey, I'll be honest, it is impossible to treat this like just another July ranking. Because when executives, coaches, and scouts put McCaffrey as the fourth best running back in the NFL, behind Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Saquon Barkley, the first reaction from the fan base might be frustration. And I understand it. We have watched this man carry the offense, become the safety valve, line up as a receiver, rescue broken plays, and produce at a level very few players in this league could even survive. But this conversation is more complicated than just yelling disrespect. McCaffrey finished 2025 with another season over 2,000 total yards, the third time in his career he has reached that mark, which puts him in historic territory. But he needed 413 touches to get there, the highest workload in the league. That is not a small detail. That is a warning light blinking on the dashboard. His 3.9 yards per carry were his lowest in a full season since his rookie year, and the context matters. The 49ers were near the bottom of the league in rushing yards before contact. So before pointing the finger at McCaffrey, look closely at the environment around him. If the running back gets the ball and already has a defender breathing on his chest, no magic trick is going to last forever. He is still elite because of his versatility, his intelligence, his receiving ability, and his power to punish linebackers in space. But the 49ers have to stop treating this man like an unlimited resource. That is the part that really gets me. McCaffrey does not need to prove he is special. He needs support so he can still be special when January arrives. Kyle Shanahan has Jordan James and Kalen Black as names who can take some carries, steal some snaps, absorb some hits, and keep McCaffrey fresher for what he does best. Mismatches in the passing game, motion, routes against linebackers, and plays where the offense forces the defense to reveal coverage. So is fourth place disrespectful? Maybe to the fans' heart, yes. But the real debate is not whether McCaffrey still deserves respect. He absolutely does. The question is whether the 49ers will respect his body enough to stop wearing down their own difference maker before the playoffs. I want to know how the faithful feel about this one. Do you think McCaffrey was ranked too low? Or is the bigger issue cutting down his workload and extending his elite level? Because to me, the message is simple. If San Francisco wants the best version of CMC, it has to stop asking him to be the entire offense. And the final story has one small phrase that feels like it landed exactly where the 49ers conversation needed it to land. Mike Evans showed up after practice wearing a shirt that said, "Humble over hype. Humility over hype." He probably was not trying to take a shot at anybody, and I am not going to pretend this was some planned message. But sometimes one image captures a contrast better than any speech ever could. Because Evans arrives with a very clear reputation. Professional, quiet, productive, respected, and used to working without turning every week into a show. That kind of veteran changes the feel of a room. Not because he has to yell, not because he has to pose, but because everybody knows the resume is real, the standard is real, and Sunday speaks louder than Tuesday noise. And that is where it becomes hard not to compare it to what Brandon Ayuk became in San Francisco. Ayuk is talented, and nobody serious needs to deny that. He played at a high level, he mattered to this offense, and he got a big contract because the franchise saw value in him. But talent, when it comes with constant noise, starts carrying a different kind of cost. Posts, complaints, tension, and the feeling that every move has to turn into public drama. For a team trying to win a Super Bowl, that wears on you. The wild part is that Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch have always seemed like people who prefer clean football, work, execution, a steady locker room, and fewer distractions. And yet the 49ers have lived through years of side stories. Trey Lance, Jimmy Garoppolo, Deebo Samuel requesting a trade, Devondre Campbell walking out on the team, Ayuk turning up the heat off the field. And even with all of that, San Francisco has still been one of the strongest teams in the NFC. So imagine what this roster could look like when the conversation becomes only football again. That is why Mike Evans fits this moment so well. He does not need to arrive and become a daily headline. He needs to arrive and be an adult in the room, a reliable target, a Hall of Fame presence, a guy who understands routes, details, preparation, and big games. A wide receiver room does not live on explosiveness alone. It lives on standards. It lives on example. It lives on players who make the quarterback trust the right spot at the right time. And if Ayuk really is moving toward the exit, Evans could represent more than just a name replacement. He could represent a shift in energy, less noise, more professional weight, less theater, more Sunday. For a franchise already carrying pressure from history, the championship window and expectations, that matters a lot. In the end, humble over hype does not have to be a shot at anybody to work. Maybe it is just a phrase on a shirt, but in Santa Clara right now, it sounds like a need. At the end of the day, this leaves one clear message. The 49ers are being judged in the details. Height has to become useful pressure. The Payne idea shows the defensive line still needs more weight. McCaffrey is still a giant, but he has to be protected from a workload that could become too expensive. And Mike Evans represents something every contender needs: maturity without noise. That is the difference between a talented roster and a roster ready to survive January. The faithful know it. San Francisco cannot live on promise, rankings, or big names alone. It has to turn all of this into execution. If you feel that pressure with me, subscribe to 49ers Express, hit the like button, and comment which one of these 4 stories impacts the season the most.